beautiful, but it's also fucking 10 o'clock. Freaking 10 o'clock.
You better hope your grandma didn't hear that. Hello, everyone. It is Burnt Rubber Racing. As promised, we are back with a recap show of the first race of the year, as we will be doing all season long, trying to break things up, have a new little format, make season 2 our best season yet. We've only had one so far. But, you know, it is what it is. Henry John alongside Zach McAdoo. We are both here on the recap show. Two-man crew this week, as it should be, right, for the great American race, the Daytona 500. And what a 2022 Daytona 500 it was, Zach. How are you doing tonight? You know what? Maybe I shouldn't ask you that. I kind of already know. Anyone who knows you, regular listener of the show, probably already knows as well. How would you like to come into this show? I'll let you decide what the first words out of your mouth are here as the quote-unquote analyst. Go ahead.
I'm just looking for when it comes to like my drivers. I'm just looking forward to next week. We all know what happened to Reddick. Something broke, and the car went right, hooked it right for I don't know why, but yeah, your guy got messed out of the first wreck. Literally, out of the guys I call my top 5, Hamrick got wrecked by Larson late in the race. Reddick broke. Kurt Busch got wrecked in the Reddick wreck. Bowman got wrecked in the first wreck, and then Ross got wrecked in the first wreck too. It's just like, damn.
Yeah, there was some carnage, as you can tell from McAdoo listing off his drivers and what happened to them today in the Great American Race. Zach, why don't we jump right into it here? I just finished up the recap article over on flurrysports.org, so you'll be able to get a full, detailed race recap. I was taking notes throughout. I worked hard on that, baby, so go show us some love over at flurrysports.org once that is up. Before the race even began, though, Zach, I thought a couple of things that were, worth throwing out there. We talked about it, obviously, on the preview shows. We already knew Joey Logano wrecked out of the duel, had to go to a backup car, sent to the rear. Turned out to not really be a big deal for him, as he didn't even need a full stage to get back to the front. But we'll get to more on what happened with him later. Also, the other one, Daniel Hamrick, driving that second Collie car, the number 16 in the 500. He failed a pre-race inspection, so not only did he have to start at the rear, but he had to do a pass-through penalty. That led to him getting lapped pretty early on. Also happening early on was Kyle Larson, who started on the pole, falling back along with his front row teammate. What'd you call him on the main show? Front row
Bowman, the front rowman, from what Bowman was said on during the duels from Twitter.
There we go. Yes. Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman fall back pretty quickly. Larson doesn't even need to lead a lap starting on the pole as Brad Keselowski jumps out to the front. And I guess what stood out to me right away, and I can't say I was overly surprised, the Fords got themselves organized, and they were off and running right away.
Yeah, more of the same from Thursday. I mean, you had him go from the drop of the green, and no one could really catch him for the first part of the race.
Not at all. The next, I think, kind of big development that happened is you had the Toyotas, a bunch of them kind of getting together, running behind the Fords, and eventually they did make the move down to the inside, and they were able to pull up even. So the Toyotas really did a nice job working together. Kyle Busch pulling up alongside Brad Keselowski, leading their respective lanes early on. And how about Denny Hamlin? Starts 30th, and before we even get to the first pit stop cycle, he has latched on to the back of that Toyota field. Now, keep in mind the manufacturer strategy that plays out at these super speedways with the pit stops and also just general draft help. Toyotas, they're already at a disadvantage because there's only 6 of them. Well, all 6 of them were right in line because Hamlin shoots right up to the front. I think I put a tweet out at one point. I was like, geez, Toyota's putting on a clinic because not only are they all together, they're on the inside. The Fords typically want to pit first. They're going to have to slow up to pit because they can't go through the Toyotas. So really impressive start to the race, I thought, for the Camerons. What about you?
So yeah, I mean, you talk about Hamlin. This is a guy you looked at. We were big on him back on Thursday or Friday when we were doing our show, and we were like, yeah, this guy's going to come through the field. It was a fluke that he did so bad in the duels. He's going to come through the field and get you point. A, he's going to get you points. B, he's going to be probably up there at the end of the race, fighting for the win. So we all thought that, yeah, he's going to be through the field. And yeah, the Toyotas were the only ones who could really stick with the Fords early on in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was ultimately the Penske camp and a bunch of Fords that were the first to dive onto pit road. The Toyotas came shortly after. Of course, they were leading that draft pack after the Fords left at that point. A bunch of Chevys behind them. The Chevrolets joined them on pit road. So I thought that was interesting there to see two manufacturers pit together, but obviously strength in numbers. Really, had the first stage stayed green, I think we could have been looking at a scenario where that group would have been able to really put up some significant gain ground on the Fords just because of the nature of most of the Fords pitting from the outside lane and having to wait to drop down onto the apron to pit road. But we didn't stay green. As little bit after those green flag stops cycled through. Zach, remember how we talked about NASCAR switching to one lug nut wheels and how, loose wheels shouldn't really be a problem anymore? And you wouldn't think at all that we would see a flashback to last year's Indianapolis 500 where a tire comes completely off Graham Rahaal's car. Well, TMT Racing was just like, yeah, you watch this NASCAR. Kaz Grala completely loses a wheel. And at the same time, Austin Cindric actually got into the back of Chase Briscoe. I can't say for sure, now maybe you were able to see this, whether Grala losing the wheel was part of why Briscoe kind of pulled up a little bit and Cindric got into the back of him, forcing him around. Kind of a minor incident there, but two incidents kind of happening at the same time bring out the first caution of the race. But, I mean, you lost an entire wheel and you only have one lug nut. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the second incident where you had two guys lose wheels, with Daniel Hamrick also losing a wheel. And Blaney having the same issue. They were having trouble with I think they said the hub, and
yes.
And from what I was just told before I got on here is a lot of the guys, they were routing off the hubs so that when they put them on, they're the handle could cut. So that could be a problem going forward that these teams might have to fix. But I mean, that is you kind of got to figure that's why. I think they hit you have to know they hit the lug. I don't think it was a problem when there's only one lug. You had to push. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I mean it is too startup race team, part-time race teams. What type of quality does Floyd Mayweather Jr. have down there in the pits? I'm not exactly sure for the money team racing, but unfortunate as Grala has to limp it around without a wheel, and his day was kind of pretty much done from there. Also, Mike Joy threw out on the broadcast that the crew chief gets a 4-race suspension because of losing a wheel. So now my next question is, does that 4 races start next week, or is it only the ones TMT Racing is actually running? It's are they going to be without a crew chief for half their season now? I don't know how many entries there been, but
I think it would be every time they enter. I think that's what it would be. So, you can't, because they're not going to be there next week. So why would he be suspended then when they're not entered? They're probably not going to be back. What, dirt race or Talladega? Maybe.
I feel like they're going to be kind of Beard Motorsports and then a few extra, maybe. That's kind of my.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe plate tracks, or the Crown Jewels.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to see kind of how that all shakes out. But anyway, the yellow flag bunches the draft groups back together. So Ford's, I would say the Ford's catching a break, just given the strength of numbers Toyota and Chevy had based on those first green flag pit stops. Kyle Busch leads when things get back to green on lap 46. And then there's Joey Logano. We talked about him at the top, forced to the rear because of the incident at the duels. He has to go to a backup car. And lo and behold, he's starting on the front row, leading the outside on that restart. Didn't stay green long, though, because Justin Haley, this was a different wheel incident where he lost the wheel, but the wheel actually broke or something.
Yeah, it didn't even come with the hub. It was off the rim. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I have no idea what.
But it was. I thought it was Hamrick. I thought it was 16 and not the 31.
I'm almost positive it was Haley. If I got that wrong, joke's on me because I was taking notes throughout this. So I hope I'm right.
Maybe I'm wrong because Hamrick was still in the lead lap at the end of the race. So maybe
and Haley wasn't. So I hope I'm right, but maybe who knows? During that caution, though, Chase Briscoe getting some repairs as he was dragging his rear diffuser around from the previous contact with Cindric. Before we get to the end of stage one, Zach, I just got to ask you right now. One race in, I know. Back me up, though. This new one lug nut tire in these pit stops, now gas takes longer than tires. It sucks, right?
I want to see more than one race. I understand people are going to jump on it after one race, but when the one race is Daytona, it doesn't show you much because everyone's pitting with their manufacturer pretty much. Everyone's in it's pack racing. I want to see more than just this.
I wasn't a fan of it as soon as I found out.
Well, I mean,
from 5 lug nuts to 1. It just throws everything off. I don't like it, but
NASCAR's the only one that really does not have the one lug nut before this year. If you look at every other sport, more sports, what?
Most motorsports are open wheel.
Yeah, but even the closed wheels ones, IMSA does run one lug nut. So it's
true.
And I like it from this standpoint because how many times last year did we have lug nut penalties?
A lot.
Yeah,
every single week.
So my theory,
we're gonna have some this week.
Yeah, my thinking is if you're this week, there's no doubt if that lug nut is not directly on, you're getting that penalty, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, I don't think that Justin Haley should get a penalty because that's not on him. They hit it. If the rim's still on there, that's not on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. So I guess by you saying that, we confirmed that I was right. It was Justin Haley, not Daniel Hamrick.
I don't know.
I thought you had found that out.
No, I didn't look it up.
Never mind.
I was like, something, you might be right. It might be Justin Haley because he was let down and Daniel Hamrick was still on the lap.
When I'm right, man. What can I say? Stage 1 ends under caution, though. And I would say this, of all the wrecks that happened during this year's Daytona 500, this is probably the most spectacular, if you want to put it that way, because Harrison Burton flips upside down. Car lands on its roof. When have we seen that before, right? This was the first next-gen car to go flying, though. Burton was leading the race at the time of this incident, and you can kind of see with the laps leading up to it, and Denny Hamlin, William Byron both talked about it when they were interviewed after their infield care center visit or whatever. You could see that he had all he could do to handle the car when he was getting bumped and pushed by Brad Keselowski from behind. Keselowski did not let up with the pushing, and Burton finally just, I think, lost control and sent him down into the inside lane. Ended his day, obviously, when a car lands on its roof. Typically not going to continue in the race. William Byron also knocked out. Denny Hamlin, the race favorite, the Daytona 500 favorite, 3-time champion, knocked out of the race as a result of contact that really messed up the back wheel bearings. I believe that was on his car, if I remember correctly. Ross Chastain eliminated with this contact. Pretty much destroyed his right front fender. Christopher Bell involved. He was able to continue driving some laps later on, but he was never the same. Alex Bowman took damage. Can't remember what happened to him. I know he stayed in the race a little while. Kyle Busch also took some contact. Wow. Help me break this one down here. What did you see? And, oh, by the way, the stage ends under caution because this incident came lap 63. Martin Truex Jr., your stage 1 winner.
Yeah, so, I mean, Keselowski was pushing Harrison Burton. I'm not going to fault Keselowski for that. You're trying to push him forward, get all you can. and a lot of people are thinking, oh yeah, he shouldn't have done that. You can't push him at the end of the corner. Yes, but Keselowski had no intention of wrecking him. Keselowski's trying to push him forward. Why would Keselowski want to wreck another fellow Ford? Let's think about that. He knows that the Fords are going to help him in the end. Come on, let's be smarter. But I mean,
yeah, I agree. I thought it was a little overbearing. Like you can see Burton's struggling, but at the same time, Burton's a rookie, maybe a veteran in that scenario. Do they bail out? I don't know. There's stage points on the line, but if your car if you're losing it, slide over. Like we saw guys do that in the truck race on Friday a couple times. Stuart Friesen pulling out of line. Like he's a veteran. Burton, it's his first Cup Series race as a rookie. I don't know, but part of me blames Keselowski for being overly aggressive, but at the same time, he's going for stage points. He wants a stage win too. Overall, it's a racing thing for sure.
Yeah, and like you could say Keselowski could go around him, just like put Burton in the sucker hole, but he doesn't know that people are going to follow him. You either push him forward and that's what you try to do, or you're potentially bowing out because you're going to go high and not try to push him. And unfortunately, option one was just not there to help him at all. Now, the other part of that is Byron and Bowman have no luck here when it comes to the 500. Last 2 years, they've been taken out by it's just been unlucky for them. Bowman has been on the front row 5 years in a row, and not once. I can't remember a time where he's finished, really. I think he's wrecked out of every single one of them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He did finish this one, but I mean 24th.
How many laps down?
He was at least a couple laps down by that point. Like this was the end of his day, really, for him. So a guy who started on the front row each of the last 5 Daytona 500s, like to your point, the results are definitely not there for him.
I'll rephrase. He hasn't finished in a lead lap. I cannot remember once in those 5 years.
There you go. Not to nitpick. I was just trying to inform. So yeah, and you were excited that MTJ got the stage win. I'm sure. Don't have to ask you about that. So let's jump to stage 2 here, where we have Eric Jones. That was a name that somebody, actually multiple people were kind of into on the Burnt Rubber Racing preview show from this past week. But I'll pointed the wrong way. I'll give props to Zach for sure, as he put me even more so onto Eric Jones. He leads the field to green to start stage 2. Ryan Blaney, the other half of the front row alongside him. However, it is Blaney that settled in as the leader. And then choo-choo, the train is back at Daytona, Zach. And here's what stood out to me from this train, okay? Fords. Blaney's the leader. Ford's running 1 through 8 in 11 of the top 12. Only Ty Dillon in 9th is breaking up just like a full Ford train. Like, we're not talking about just a train. It was a train of Fords and then Ty Dillon for the first 12. Like, incredible, dude.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too. This is about the time where Tyler Reddick. I was listening to Tyler Reddick's driver audio today for the listeners out there. You could hear, like, man, I don't know if I'll censor or uncensor. Which one should I do here?
We're explicit. We have the E.
Okay, so Tyler Reddick's spotter goes, yeah, I don't know if this car is shit or if he's just saving it for us, but he never got a response, but I thought that was pretty funny. I just started laughing, like, yeah, this is the guy I bet on. I'm glad that this is just going on right here, but this is Reddick's running 16th. I think Jones is back there with him with a train. It's like, oh, this is fantastic.
Considering how poor the Fords were last season, number one, and also in qualifying, like individual time trial qualifying for the 500. Now, obviously, they dominated the duels as well. This was quite the speed weeks, I would say, for Fords across the board. And the train was a perfect picture of just how well the manufacturer ran overall in the 500. I also included in my notes here at this point, Zach, Noah Gragson climbed into the top 15 for the first time. But, yeah, sadly, I think I was building up for that little storybook ending that we both were hoping for, but
I mean,
so that's just like sitting there in my notes.
You were talking about the Fords. Look, they pretty much swept the weekend except for yesterday's Xfinity Series race, which I do want to talk about one last lap thing there before we get off.
We can get to that. And then I think Corey Heim dominated ARCA, but he's Toyota. But
I don't count ARCA. ARCA's
front row getting the win in the trucks with not Todd Gilliland. He drove that truck last year. Zane Smith. How can I forget Zane Smith? Give Zane Smith a job. Anyway, back to the Daytona 500. Green flag stops in stage 2 begin with the RCR Chevys. Yeah, makes sense. They're not really doing a whole heck of a lot at this point, so they're the first to dive off onto pit road. A couple other single car teams, I believe. Ricky Stenhouse was in there at this point. Maybe Eric Jones was with them. I can't remember for certain. So you got some Chevys that are the first to hit up the pits. The Fords are controlling things, as we've already discussed. They bring all other Chevrolets with them when they finally do come to pit road a handful of laps later.
Yeah, that trade all pitted together. That was messed up. Like, I don't mean to cut you off, but like that was whole feeding time at the zoo or whatever the hell your favorite line is.
Yes. Mike Joy, it's feeding time at the zoo, and boy, was it. So we have chaos on pit road because there's so many cars under green. Rarely does this happen anymore with the manufacturer stops at Daytona. Chase Briscoe completely misses his stall, has to back up. He almost takes out Austin Cindric, who's trying to exit his stall behind him when he's backing up and missed it going in reverse. Daniel Suarez speeds on the pit road. He has to do a pass-through. And the Toyotas do come, but they come separately, which that was probably a little smart strategy. They take fuel only. Chase Elliott, I don't know if he forgot that he drives a Chevy or not, but he pitted with the Toyotas. He stalls out on pit road, has some trouble getting it refired, but it does not cost him because we do have a caution before the end of – no, I'm sorry.
It was like halfway through, wasn't it?
Yeah, what was that caution? I'm totally blanking.
So am I. Was it the Reddick wreck?
Nope. I don't think there was a stage 2 caution. That's my bad. It didn't cost him because I don't think there was enough time left in the stage, or he was able to glom onto a draft or something. I can't remember for certain. Roush Fenway Keselowski, both Keselowski and Buescher were out in front of the field after the pit stops all cycled through. We get a second lane emerging with about 12 to go in the stage. Drivers trying to make some moves for stage points. Zach, I don't know where Kyle Larson came from at this point. He just suddenly, I think there was a commercial break, and then all of a sudden Kyle Larson's leading the race. And I'm like, what? He was just ninth. And then Kyle Larson was not leading the race because the Ford's Keselowski goes to go by him. Logano follows. They just completely hang him out to dry. He's the only Chevy up there. Larson falls back in a hurry. End of this stage was interesting, though, because the lead draft caught up to Chase Briscoe, who rather than just settle for being a lap down and hope that he gets the lucky dog at the end of the stage, he throws a black, and he's going to race to stay on the lead lap, and Logano goes with him. What did you think of all that? As Keselowski tries to make the pass, Logano abandons him.
I thought Keselowski was stupid. Why not just push Briscoe? Because Briscoe can help you, A, save gas, B, he can make you go faster if you just want to keep pushing him. I mean, Briscoe's putting himself at the mercy of staying on the lead lap. Why not use him? If he gets wrecked, that's on him because he's decided not to get. Well, it shouldn't. He can race it out, but he's still risking it by throwing a block like that. So I thought it was a bonehead move by Keselowski, and he paid for it.
Yeah, he did. Keselowski looked like he was a shoe-in to win the stage, and he does not win the stage because he loses the draft when Logano goes with Briscoe. However, because Logano stayed behind Briscoe to the start-finish line on the high side, the door opens for none other than Martin Truex Jr., who gets a run on the bottom and edges Logano at the line. He sweeps the stages. Martin Truex Jr., he had never won a Daytona 500 stage before today, and he sweeps both of them here in the 64th edition. Any additional thoughts from you on the end of the stage other than obviously you were fired up because MTJ just swept the stages?
I was not happy. I lost money. If it would have just stayed Kozlowski and then Logano, I would have won, and then Kozlowski decided to screw me. So, yeah, I was not a happy camper.
Oh, so maybe there was a little bias to you saying that it was a bonehead move by Kozlowski. Okay. Note that down, all you listeners at home. Let's go to the final stage. A couple things that stood out to me during the stage break, Zach. Logano drops from 2nd to 6th on pit road, a little slower stop there. Chase Elliott also has an extended stop. They're working to repair suspension damage from previous contact, I believe, that he had with Kyle Larson, actually, his teammate. He went back down pit road a second time to put on left side tires. Several drivers joined him in making a repeat run down through the pits before the start of the final stage to top off on fuel. And we've got Brad Keselowski and Austin Cindric, 2 Fords. What do you know? Making up row 1 on the restart. Things kind of settled in after that. Got, I don't know, I'd say 15 or so good laps of clean green flag racing. And then lap 151, Tyler Reddick. It initially looked like Jacques Villeneuve might have made some contact with him from behind. Replay showed it was just Tyler Reddick getting loose. I don't know. Maybe this proves the spotter was right. The car was kind of shit, but yeah, I'll let you mourn your loss here.
Yeah, it hurt because I don't know what it was. All winter, I was like, you know something? It's Reddick's time. It's Reddick's time. He's got to get that win. In the Daytona 500, new car, new everything. It's going to be okay. But at first, I wasn't happy with Jacques Villeneuve. I thought Tyler Reddick got wrecked by a has-been F1 driver. But it turned out it was Reddick who had some break in the car for the second straight race. Not much you can really say about that. Sorry to Jacques Villeneuve for calling you a has-been for something that wasn't your fault. But
large.
But I mean, at the time, I was a little mad at first because I thought Reddick got dumped. But I don't know. It was broke.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm sorry. I'll apologize to you. But hey, if there was any silver lining to this for you, Martin Truex Jr. also suffered damage, so at least you knew he wasn't going to win the 500 after this, right?
Yeah, I was
kind of Reddick's not going to win. At least you don't have to watch MTJ win both stages and the race. So maybe you can find some solace in that. Joey Logano, Kurt Busch also had flat tires. They were sent onto the grass. Somehow David Reagan threaded the needle through all of this and got the free pass for his efforts. So that put him back on the lead lap. Noteworthy because Reagan would go on to finish top 10. But at any rate, we had 20 cars that would restart on the lead lap after this. Might have been a few others that took the wave round. I can't remember for sure.
So I want to point this out because I think it was under this caution that what I told you before happened before we got on the show. So for those of you who have been watching the show, you guys know that how we both feel about Chase Elliott. Well, we had one spotter to just decide. Well, did you see the race, right? How Chase Elliott just waited outside Bubba Wallace's pit box? And he just waited. Like, Bubba's not even getting ready to get out. He's just still getting fielded. Chase Elliott's still sitting next to his pit box. Or did you miss that?
I didn't see that. That went right over me.
Yeah, I saw it. And, it's even worse because I'm hearing in my ear, right. What is he doing? What a fucking dick. That is what he said. Literally said on air. I was like, my God. And I'm getting pissed off because I have Eric Jones at 66-1. I'm wanting him to get out. And, oh my God, I was getting, if it was, and of course, I didn't like Chase Elliott before. I'm not going to like him now because he could have costed me money there.
Was it Eric Jones or Bubba Wallace?
That was Jones's spotter because after Reddick wrecked, I went to Eric Jones's driver audio.
So he was blocking Eric Jones in his box.
He was blocking. He was in Bubba's, next to Bubba, and I guess Eric Jones couldn't launch out because Chase is in the way.
Oh my goodness.
So if there's a new thing to call it, that's it right there.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Could we make that the show title of this recap? We probably can. It's
probably not. Go ahead and ask Bruner. We'll see if he approves.
At any rate, these pit stops that came with like 42 laps to go or so. I believe the restart came, so they were just outside of fuel window. It would have been tough to save. Bob Pockers was all over that on Twitter. So, obviously that's considering a full green flag run to the end, which at Daytona you're typically not going to have anyway. We didn't ultimately have that here. At any rate, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, they start on the front row. Ryan Blaney pushing from behind. His Team Penske teammate, Austin Cindric, assumes the lead. Eric Jones then hung Bubba Wallace out to dry on the outside. I thought that was kind of funny. Just, again, those who are familiar with the show kind of know where my rooting interest and opinions are at with some of these guys too by now. But that ultimately led Wallace to having Kyle Busch, damage and all, up behind him on the outside. The two Toyotas were able to pull back even with the Fords up at the front. And we have Wallace and Cindric exchanging the lead over the next several laps. Kyle Busch had a front hood air flap come undone. It wedged up against his windshield. He wasn't really necessarily suited at this point to lead a line, but he was still effective for the most part in pushing Bubba Wallace initially. Then it seemed like the damage kind of threw off their cohesion a little bit. As Wallace kept getting loose, the two Toyotas ultimately crossed over to the inside in front of Penske, and this allowed Ricky Stenhouse, who'd been running well all day, to assume the lead. Where were you at here at this point? Because we know Ricky Stenhouse, he's kind of checkers or records when it comes to these super speedways, but he has a history of getting it done.
I mean, Ricky, he came out of nowhere really. I feel like no, he wasn't up there a lot early on in the race, and sure enough, he worked his way all the way to the front there with 3 to go, and I thought he was a force to be reckoned with once he got that lead.
Yep, he was out front at the 20 to go mark as well. Then we had a little bit of a mini train for him. Kyle Busch kind of left Bubba Wallace out to dry, so the 23 fell back. This broke the Toyotas up. And then caution number 6 with 11 to go, lap 189. For the second time on the show, Zach McAdoo must mourn one of his boys as Kevin Harvick got pinballed around a little bit. Kyle Larson got a run. Kevin Harvick had kind of slowed up because Chris Buescher was slow in front of him. Larson bumps Harvick into Buescher. Harvick does his best to keep it straight. He actually, I thought he was going to be able to continue. Ultimately, he did have to go to the garage as well. I guess by that point in the race, maybe they just weren't worried about it. I don't know exactly what the damage was on the 4 car at this point, but it was kind of a sad wreck because a lot of those lovable underdogs, Noah Gragson sent into the wall, Eric Jones, Todd Gilliland, who finished 3rd in stage 1, by the way. Shout out to rookie Todd Gilliland with Front Row Motorsports. He was driving the hell out of his car today, and he gets knocked out. Chase Elliott also spun around in this crash for those who aren't interested. Seems like Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott always seem to find each other somehow. Red flag results for the cleanup. Zach, I'll let you get your feelings out again here quick.
So I don't know. I guess this one's I was told this was Harvick's fault. I don't know how. He checked up for the guy in front of him, but Larson didn't get the message. No, it's just the racing ordeal. But apparently, people like to post blame on people, I guess. So they just know it goes to show you who the true racing fans are and who the true ones aren't. But it is what it is. It took out a lot of our guys here. With we already said Harvick, Gragson. I had Eric Jones, and he was done at this point. It's like, damn. But yeah. I was not. This was one of the races that I look at the schedule and like Harvick, top 10, please, at the most. I don't see you winning, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll move on to next week, like I said earlier.
In that top 3 at one point, I was getting ready to text you. I was like, "Is he really about to do this?"
15 he can't.
Years after,
he can't plate race, and he proved me right again. I don't know what it is. He since 2010 or whatever, he cannot or 2013. Well, I'll give him the Sprint Unlimited when he has not done anything since then, since he left RCR.
Yeah, and to your point about some of those other guys, Eric Jones, Noah Gragson, ran much better than their ultimate finishing results of 31st and 29th showed. The A wreck also knocked Kyle Larson out of the race. He wound up 32nd. Kevin Harvick, where did he end up? 30th. So I believe they tried to make some repairs and they ultimately just pulled him behind the wall. At any rate, kind of a bummer. Red flag while NASCAR cleans up the tri-oval. The restart finally comes with 6 to go. We don't stay the green long here, though. Interestingly enough, another wreck in the outside lane on a driver who was being pushed, whatever you'd like to call it, by Brad Keselowski. And that would be leader Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So for the second time in this race, Brad Keselowski is pushing a leader, and the leader wrecks Stenhouse hard into the wall. It also collected Keselowski's RFK teammate, and I guess you could say employee, Chris Buescher, who was running right behind him on that outside. Only 2 cars involved, unless you count the fact that Bubba Wallace lost his right front fender completely because Stenhouse made contact when he was going by. Wallace obviously able to stay in. The damage was not that significant, but the repairs were not necessary. This was kind of a bummer. Stenhouse is kind of the lone soldier up there as far as Chevys are concerned. JTG downsizing to 1 car. Would have been pretty epic to see them, I think, win this, at least as far as I'm concerned. Where do you come down here, though? We talked about the first incident, kind of more you and I both, or like it's racing. Keselowski wasn't doing that intentionally. Any different feelings out of you on this one?
No, racing or deal again, and this one's even you can be a little more lenient because there's 3 laps to go. You're gonna cut a guy slack and lose a chance to win the Daytona 500? No. How many times has Keselowski tried this? I think this is attempt number 13. Why should he let off?
Yeah, no, completely agree. The one thing I will add to this, and this is going to be something that obviously doing the show, doing betting and stuff, DFS going forward, we're going to have to pay attention to this. The next super speedway race would be at Talladega this spring. There's something too, and they were talking about it on the broadcast, how the Fords are able to bump draft and stay pretty clean or lock onto each other, whatever you'd like to call it. When a Ford's pushing a Chevy or a Toyota, though, such was not the case. And that was true in the 500, I thought, and also in the duels at various points. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that? Because that's going to be something that, for me, I have to take that into account, I think, going to Talladega until I see otherwise. It just doesn't look like – and the Chevys really, I thought, struggled to hold their own in the draft really all throughout Speed Weeks.
I don't know. It's just so I don't like how the curve is there at the end, only because I'm afraid, like the stuff we saw today where Keselowski hit at the wrong angle, and you saw 2 cars go right to their left, and in comes the wreck. That's the only thing I don't like. I get that the Fords are probably lined up better than the Chevys and whatnot, but I think they should be corrected by the time they come back to Daytona in August. Will they be ready for April? Probably not, because they only saw it once. But by August, stuff's gonna get righted.
Yeah, that's part of what the beast that is breaking in. A new model car. I think that's
which, by the way,
boils down to.
Well, I don't want to cut you off, but I don't know if I said this earlier. These cars are supposed to hold up a lot better than the Gen 6. I didn't see that today.
Yeah.
I did not see that today. Out of Ross Chastain, he should have been fine. And Denny Hamlin, he should have been fine. Maybe a little hammer action. Kevin Harvick, he should have been fine. These composite, Bell we can add in there.
What happened
That's
to Christopher Bell?
These are 4 guys that probably should have stayed in there. If it's go back to last year, the composite bodies. What the hell? These are not sticking up as good as what we were told. The Xfinity Series cars are made out of the same stuff. Why are they handling better? Why are they handling this stuff better than the Cup cars?
I'm really glad you brought up that point. I think my only counters to it, and just like for discussion's sake, like I do agree with you. I was disappointed. I think Chastain definitely, well, obviously, I got the Mellow Man shirt on. Like, it was kind of like, what? Like, that knocked him out. But the 2 counter arguments I would pose to that sentiment are, they're traveling over 190 miles an hour. A lot of them in this race. Like, this was a fast Daytona 500. The other one, too, I think Harvick, Hamlin, and I don't know what happened to Christopher Bell exactly, but I do not think it was the body. Like, it was mechanical. Obviously, Hamlin was the wheels. I don't know exactly what Harvick was. Maybe you do. Bell, I thought, was something mechanical too. And yes, it was a result of the contact, but was it the body falling apart itself? No.
No, it's 100% the chassis. Because so if we're gonna go with the chassis, add the 8 car in, add the 31 car. Yeah. Because I don't think. Granted,
you're right.
That might have been more the team than it was anything else. But all these problems, and it's going to happen in the biggest race of the year.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Kind of a disappointing showing out of the composite bodies. I would say this first one for sure. At any rate, this last final wreck here with Stenhouse being the headliner, that brings us to a green-white checkered overtime finish, the 4th time in 5 years that the Daytona 500 has gone to overtime, Zach. And what do we have? Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, 2 Fords, both Team Penske, making up row 1 for the overtime restart. And I thought it was really interesting. The veteran Blaney lets the rookie Cindric right down in front of him, holds up that inside line just enough so they can get bumper to bumper and push throughout the 2-lap shootout. Cindric on the point. That opens the door for Keselowski, who's leading the outside behind where he was. He's got Chase Briscoe behind him, and then the damaged nose car of Kyle Busch. And, what can you say, right? Like, the 2 Penske Fords, they really, I think, just kind of stole the show here in this overtime, because Briscoe was able to give Keselowski multiple bumps. Kyle Busch gave them both a big run. Keselowski had momentum. He got some runs, and he could never overtake the 2 Fords, to the point where Cindric and Blaney were clear in turns 3 and 4 that Blaney was able to go up the track and try to overtake his teammate for the win himself. Cindric throws a veteran block on Blaney, sends Blaney scuffing into the wall. He ultimately holds on and finishes top 5. Because Cindric had to move up the track and follow Blaney, that opens the door for Bubba Wallace, who has to run down low on the inside. Cindric realizes it, starts inching his way back down to block Wallace. Doesn't get there in time. There's a little contact. 2-car ultimately gets across the line first. And the deuce, Austin Cindric, 23 years old, NASCAR Cup Series rookie, 8th NASCAR Cup Series start, Daytona 500 winner. Share your thoughts, share your reactions to the overtime. This is the fun part of the show where we wrap things up and kind of tie a bow on all of this, because what a thrilling finish, too.
All right, I'm going to start backwards here. I need to look up who finished behind who before I start this. Okay, Keselowski, you got to feel for him. How many years that he had 12 opportunities to win the Daytona 500 in the 2-car, and the first year he leaves, does that crew gets their first Daytona 500 win? Like, I'm not a big Keselowski fan. I kind of like him because he's got the American flag when he celebrates a win. He did it Thursday night, but you got to feel for him, especially on something like this. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking seeing that go down. And then I'm gonna keep the somber attitude here. Ryan Blaney, another chance for him to win the Daytona 500, and he kind of gives it up for his teammate because he decides to be a good teammate instead of just leaving him hang out to dry and he's like, no, I want this. And, he's like, here, you have it. You have the win in your first full season.
I think, not to interrupt you, what happened on the last lap last year for Team Penske? Kind of.
That's what I said, but I had other people say, "Oh, he put himself in the wall for that." I was like, he played nice because Roger probably told him to, but it like you said, it goes back to last year where Logano didn't play nice, and Roger ended up with two cars back on record, and then Austin Cindric. We sat here last year. Well, you didn't sit there. You were, 2,000 miles back home instead of where you're at now.
Like
but
that, yeah. I don't think it's quite that far.
But we talked about how he lost on a heartbreak in probably one of the most heartbreaking fashions for a championship that we've ever seen. What a rebound in 3 months. 3 months in his next points. Full points playing race. I'm not going to count the duels. The duels, yes, they care points. As they should be under this format, but they're not.
His first race.
His first actual race. Like that's one of the biggest rebounds that we can see possible in NASCAR history.
And he didn't come out of nowhere either. Like Michael McDowell led one lap last year, and that was the last lap, the one that mattered most. Austin Cindric led several laps throughout this final stage. The two was up there. And I feel like me just kind of watching, I was kind of like, all right, he's going to fall back at some point. At some point, the rookie stripes are going to show up. Something's going to happen here, and he never did. And I tweeted out right after they crossed the line, Austin Cindric is not just any other Cup Series rookie, because he's not. I mean, this kid's a winner, former Xfinity Series champion, damn near was champion again last year. I love how him saying that rebound, it went right over Jamie Little's head in the post-race interview. She's like, oh, yeah, former Xfinity champion. She totally forgot that he lost it last year. But, yeah, it's good stuff.
Where's awesome Marty stuff. Snyder in his soundbite questions now?
What's that?
I say, where's Marty Snyder in his soundbite questions now? Don't you remember how I forgot what the question was now, but he definitely asked him something to try to get Cindric the bite, and he didn't.
He did. Yes, he did. That's right. Oh,
and I don't remember what he said. I can't remember
what the question was either. I'm gonna have to go back and look that up, though. Oh.
Please, when you do find it, please send it to me because I do want to send some stuff out to Marty Snyder for that.
I really hope Austin Cindric finds it or something too. Maybe one of us should tag him and just put it.
CC at Marty Snyder at Austin Cindric.
Oh, yes. Any rate, your top 10, your official top 10 for the Daytona 500. Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola. We didn't talk about him a lot during this recap, but a solid run for AA in what is allegedly
could be. We don't know if he
running
could probably come back.
Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell, there he is, 7th. David Reagan got that free pass. We talked about that when he avoided the wreck early on.
Rick, we're racing David Reagan.
We're racing. Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott round out the top 10. And on Roger Penske's 85th birthday, he gets another Daytona 500 victory.
Yeah.
The captain is back.
I do want to point this out.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but the Daytona 500 always has some sort of storyline. For the most part, not every Daytona 500, but there's certain ones that stick out that I go, that's kind of. I'm trying to keep conspiracy theorists when it comes to NASCAR. 2004, Dale Jr. wins 3 years after his dad wins. 2007, Kevin Harvick wins on the same day Dale Sr. dies. Was it? Yeah, February 18th, right? 2007? Yes. 2014, Junior wins 10 years to the day. 2016, Toyota opens the Daytona injectors, and they're the only manufacturer sponsor of Daytona. 2017, Monster jumps on as the title sponsor of the Cup Series. Kurt Busch wins. 2018, Austin Dillon wins on the same day Senior dies. Yeah, there's a whole conspiracy here. Don't worry. 2019, J.D. Hamlin dies. Not J.D. Hamlin, J.D. Gibbs. And his driver, who he selected, Denny Hamlin, wins. And then now you have Cindric winning on Roger Penske's birthday. In the car that would have been Brad Keselowski's, but Keselowski left.
Crazy. What do you
Rabbit hole
for? And last year, Loves. Don't forget it.
Loves on Valentine's Day.
You left that one out. Got to get McDowell in there too. Wow, that's awesome. I'm gonna need like a full like written up list, or like you got to do that in article form, so like we can go back and read it because that's so good.
I don't know if I want that attached to my name though. I don't want that might just kill off every NASCAR chance I get.
Oh yes, you do. 0.036, the winning margin for Cindric over Wallace as well, just to throw that in there.
So hold on, before we go, because it was a close race. Did you think that Wallace won at all?
No.
Because I had my family go, "Damn it!" when they saw Wallace get there.
Was a run.
He was even close.
There was a run there, and I think my heart skipped a beat because I got really like the upsetness started to engulf me. Like no, but then Cindric, I think I mentioned it when we were talking about it. Obviously, he went up to block Blaney. Blaney hits the wall, so he's not a threat anymore. Cindric sees the run. He comes back down, and when he came back down to throw that block on, or attempt to throw the block on Wallace, I knew he was good, just because of where they made contact, and it pushed Wallace down. Now, I don't know if that would have made any difference in terms of where the start-finish was, but there was brief contact there, I believe, if you go back and watch. Like, I'm almost positive. And it was when that happened, I was like, all right, Cindric's got it. He's good.
And if you go back and look, I was nervous because I didn't notice this at first. Cindric forced Wallace below the yellow. And we have seen you can't do that. And NASCAR could take the win away. And it would have went to Wallace if NASCAR deemed it too bad.
They won't do that at this point.
No, it's too late now. They've already ruled it. It's not. They're already
Daytona 500. Get that garbage out of here.
I mean,
and obviously, of course, Fox was quick to interview a dejected Bubba on pit road too, and I love how he threw that he was going in there for back-to-back super speedway wins. But yeah, must be nice to win a shortened race, whatever.
I mean, a win's a win. I keep telling everyone that.
We need to stop before I start going on.
Okay,
here.
now we'll get to the other point I wanted to bring up with the last lap of the Xfinity Series race because we didn't talk about it yet.
News and notes. Save it for the show.
Okay. Well, I mean, how's it news and notes? How is that news?
Like we said, we'll bring Xfinity, the lower level series and news for Cup is kind of like what that show's dedicated to, lower level open wheel news. Or if you have a 10-minute rant and you want to do a quick little one, go for it.
No, we're already at 53 minutes. We need to end this. Right. I'm exhausted.
Me too. Great stuff. Thrilling Daytona 500. Again, you can find a full, all-inclusive recap article. Plenty of video tweets in there to kind of paint the picture for you along the way. I really went balls out on this article, so Zach, you go read it too. I try. I do. Follow, like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Burnt Rubber Racing. We're available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Flurry Sports YouTube as well. And follow at CT McAdoo on Twitter because this guy's going for it as a racing and sports journalist, and he needs all of your support. That'll do it. You got anything else?
Twitch.tv/McAdoo316. I will probably be up there at some point this week and play some more NASCAR. You can watch me get wrecked and just come support me.
Yeah, and by some point he probably means in like 5 minutes when we get off. But yeah.
No, I'm taking a melatonin and I'm taking my ass to bed. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I still need to have dinner. Fun being on Mountain Time. Yeah, the race starts midday. Still some sunlight after. It's good stuff out here in Big Wild. You should come visit. All right, that'll do it. At least one of us will be back with, like Zach teased, Xfinity discussion, truck discussion, news and notes. That show will be going up to you on Wednesday. So maybe it'll be both of us again. Who knows? So sure to tune in for that. And again, plenty of content, the recap, and other stuff on FlurrySports.org as we get set to go back to Auto Club next week for the first time in 2 years. So that'll be fun. Take care, everyone.